Mr. Hunter Tootoo, Minister of Fisheries, Oceans, and the Canadian Coast Guard.
When Justin Trudeau's cabinet was sworn in last November, Hunter Tootoo was one of its early stars.
I, Hunter Tootoo, do declare...
Proud and confident in his red sealskin tie. Charming, rugged good looks, and what seemed like a never-ending smile. Earlier this year at the White House, he got a front row seat in the Rose Garden. And then primetime billing with the president himself. But within weeks of all that, the Hunter Tootoo story turned into a disaster.
Hunter Tootoo has left the Liberal caucus and resigned from cabinet to seek treatment for addiction issues.
In a matter of moments, he was out of cabinet, out of caucus, and into a rehab center to deal with alcoholism.
This was his own choice after a very difficult situation. We'll have nothing further to say on this matter.
What really happened? Was it alcoholism or an inappropriate relationship that sealed his fate? Who knew what, when? And when the crunch came, what was said between Tootoo and Trudeau? I sat down with Tootoo this morning in Ottawa. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, Peter. You know, like I've told people, this is probably the best I've felt in over 45 years. I think, you know, for the first time since I've been 7 years old that I feel comfortable in my own skin.
What happened when you were 7?
Well, I think, you know, for me, I came from a family that alcohol destroyed. You know, so the emotional trauma that you witness and see as a child, it affected me.
This would be what, the relationship between your parents?
Between my parents and since then, you know, I left home when I was 14. I just couldn't stand being. My mom remarried. I couldn't, you know, and it wasn't a good situation for me. I left at the age of 14, and I went to Churchill and lived with my grandmother, and between my grandmother and my aunt. From there, I ended up in Rankin, went to Cacho Hall in Yellowknife, and been pretty much on my own since I was 14 years old.
So all these things had an impact on the Hunter Tootoo of today? I mean, those are memories and images that you still have in your mind?
There's been trauma in my life, you know, through my life experiences that I've realized now that have affected and shaped me as an individual.
Trauma beyond what the things you just told me? Or?
Yeah, there was, you know, beyond the emotional trauma. There's physical abuse.
Towards you?
Yeah.
From?
It just happened. I'm not laying blame anywhere, but these are just experiences that happened in my life that affected me the way they have.
When you say abuse, what do you mean by abuse?
I was beaten. I was sexually abused. I think when I was like 15 or 16, there was a suicide attempt. All these things that happened in my life, I've realized, you know, I always thought this stuff never bothered me. And I buried it because it was too painful to go near. You know, the fear of talking about it, the fear of feeling that pain, feeling those emotions, reliving those experiences, kept me away from dealing with it. And I never realized how much of an impact it had on me. You know, I thought, look at me, I'm successful. You know, I've been a successful politician since 1999. How could these things bother me? And, you know, what I've realized is that I didn't like myself. And the more successful I got, the less I liked myself. And you know, how could I be here?
The abuse, sexual and physical abuse you took, was this all within family, or was it beyond family? Was it involving the school? I mean, you didn't do the residential school thing.
Well, that was at Cato Hall in Yellowknife.
In Yellowknife.
Yeah.
Because you had a mix of both private school in Ottawa.
Yeah. I went to Ashbury College here in Ottawa. I went to Notre Dame College in Wilcox, Saskatchewan.
But were these things that happen in the north, or both?
Both. Some of them happened in the north, and some of it happened in the south.
Do you think it was because of your background? I mean, why were you a target of abuse?
I don't know. I was a young child. When I look back at it now, I mean, I was vulnerable. I was like a chameleon. I fit into whatever situation I was thrown into to survive. And not talking about things and bearing it, like creating walls within myself to forget those things. That didn't help. The shame, the anger, everything that happened to me was still inside of me. And
do you think this was a contributing factor as to why you sought refuge in alcohol?
It was. I escaped into work, and I escaped into alcohol when I wasn't working. And, I realized that, drinking wasn't my problem. Not drinking was my problem. Because when I wasn't drinking, it was me, and, I spent my whole life basically hiding me and how I feel about myself from other people. I knew what I was to everybody else, but I didn't know who I was to myself. And only by facing those issues and talking about them, that, I feel now I'm at peace with them, and I'm able to leave that behind me now. And
have you left alcohol behind you?
Yes, I have actually.
You've done that before, though.
Yes, I did quit before. I quit for 13 years.
So how do you describe yourself now? As a recovering alcoholic, or as an alcoholic? That you'll always be an alcoholic? It's a matter of how you...
Yeah, I think I'm in recovery, and I plan on staying in recovery. I don't plan on drinking again. I realize that, because of my drinking and my behavior while drinking, not saying that drinking is an excuse for anything, but I did things that weren't me, and my actions hurt people that I care about and people that care about me, and that made me realize that I needed help to deal with this problem.
On May 31st, when you stepped away from cabinet and caucus, the reason that was given was you needed treatment for an addiction. But it's clear there was more to the reason as to why you stepped away than that.
Yeah, the reason was addictions with alcohol, and it was my choice to go to the Prime Minister and tell him, that I needed help.
Take me back to that moment. Did you go to him? Did you go to his office to talk with him, or how did that unfold?
Yeah, that day after question period, I arranged to have a meeting with him in his office. And
did he have any idea what the meeting was about?
No, nobody did. I mean, I surprised him. I surprised everybody.
This was a decision you took?
Yes.
On your own?
Yes.
Nobody confronted you with issues about your behavior, both with alcohol and with other people?
Nobody knew, Peter. I mean, it was me.
So you go into his office, and what do you tell him?
Oh, that was a very, you can imagine, a very difficult, hard meeting for me. I knew I had to go in there and let him know of my decision and what happened.
But what did you tell him? Did you tell him just the issue of drinking or the other issue?
I explained everything to him. I told him everything. And
this includes the inappropriate relationship?
That's correct.
With a staff member?
With an individual that I should not, I regrettably engaged in that relationship. And, like I said.
But this was, you said, here's where some people are confused. That relationship, you said, was consensual, but inappropriate. How can it be consensual and inappropriate?
It was, it was two consenting adults, Peter. It was inappropriate, and I won't go into why, because I don't want to, I promised the individual to protect the privacy.
But one assumes it could only be inappropriate if this was somebody who was, working for you, or in some manner you were responsible for, that could be considered inappropriate.
Yeah, one can make that assumption, Peter, but like I said, I'm not, if I go down any route that says it was whether it was a staff member, whether it was someone that worked anywhere, then that would narrow down the possibilities, and that's the reason why that I've left it.
Did you tell
like
the
that.
Prime Minister about this relationship?
Yes, I did.
So at that point on that day, he knew both the alcohol issue and the inappropriate relationship issue.
Yeah, I told him that this is what happened, and this is what made me realize that I need help.
Did you say to him, I have to step away from cabinet and I have to step outside the caucus? Or did he say to you?
No, I informed him that was my decision. I said, I need to step down from cabinet. I'm stepping away from caucus. I want to focus, because I need to focus all my energies on myself and getting better.
Did he make any attempt to dissuade you of that?
No, he respected my decision. And, he said, Hunter, just take things one step at a time, and that's what I'm doing.
Did he give you any indication that there was a pathway back?
Like I said, he said, take things one step at a time. And, the next step for me now is to just get back to work and do my job. I have to prove myself, not only to him, to my other colleagues in the House of Commons, but also to my constituents and to my family and to my friends.
You have to prove yourself to him, among others. Is that because you hope there's a pathway back?
I do hope so, Peter. I have the utmost respect for the Prime Minister.
Have you talked to him since?
No, I haven't.
How was it left on the day you were in his office? What was the last thing that was said?
He said that he was supportive in me seeking treatment and just take things one step at a time.
Did he shake your hand?
And he gave me a hug.
There are going to be people who watch this and hear what you said about your childhood trauma, and that there is linkage through your life to alcoholism, to the way you acted because of alcoholism. And they're going to say, it's the old childhood trauma excuse. He's not accepting personal blame. He's blaming it on something that happened decades ago. They're not going to buy it.
I mean, that's, throughout this process, Peter, I learned a lot about myself. And, a lot of it, look at how my life experiences has affected me as an individual. Until you go through that, until you talk about it, anyone that hasn't gone through that, it's impossible to understand. And, it was extremely, extremely difficult for me to face some of these things. Well, actually, all of them. But, you know, having gone through that and understanding it, I feel so much better. I feel better about myself. I feel stronger. I feel more focused. And, you know, like I said, I need to prove myself that I am that person that the Prime Minister put trust in. I am the person that the people that elected me put their trust in, to be able to represent them and bring forward their issues and try and help make things better for the people of Nunavut.